I'm Scheller, and sitting next to me is Chris Bartlett, Chris Childers, and Adam Meir.
Hey.
And we are... So, before we get started, I want to point somebody out, okay? Y'all remember Batman and Robin? And why are we here when it comes to cosplay? Well, you want to see the original Batgirl? Go ahead and stand up here.
Hey!
And look how far we've come and who we are. So without further ado, we are going to start with Chris Bartlett. As we look at this, Chris, I want you to go ahead and tell me a little bit about you, how you got started, and then we'll get into a video. How does that sound?
Yeah. Well, I'm Chris, and I got started as an actor because I loved building costumes. And that was what I did for fun. There was no plan for a career or anything. And I was contacted by Lucasfilm to come in for an audition for a certain golden droid. And I was like, well, why? You know, I mean, this was what I was hoping for my whole life, but I thought they already had a guy, which they did, but he wasn't as available as the character was needed. So they flew me to Lucasfilm, and they bolted the chest together and put on the neck and bolted the head together and turned on the lights. And I said, my goodness, why heaven, I am C-3PO, human cyber relations. I am fluent in over 6 million forms of communication. And they said, oh, you've been practicing. I said, yes, this is what I, always wanted. So that turned into more characters as the galaxy far away continued to grow. So
You want to see something cool?
turn off the light.
How lucky can one guy be? I kissed her and she kissed me. Like the fella once said, ain't that a kick in the head? The room was completely black. I hugged her and she hugged back. Like the sailor said, folks, ain't that a hole in the boat?
Put so much effort sometimes into building a costume. Sometimes it could be years that we spent. I spent 3 years building my own C-3PO costume. But once you put it on, it's not just the costume you build. There's a character that you can create. Maybe I spent. This is a picture of me at Lucasfilm putting the final touches on the C-3PO costume we use on television. And but what you can't see here is I spent every day for months in my 40-minute commute listening to this voice of C-3PO and trying to mimic that voice as close as possible. So that when I put on the costume and go to Comic-Con, because there was no other, plan, I just wanted the audience, which was really anybody who was around, excuse me, to feel like they were seeing something that could be real. And so I would do his voice and then learn his animation and how, we'll talk about that more today, about movement.
You know what's really interesting is when we talk about taking your time, I want you to see all of you, there is no sound on this, so we're okay. But if you look at what he does, look at how immaculate he is when he's just making something and bringing it to life.
Well, this is magical. This is turning something gray into chrome. Watch when it turns around here. I had to learn how to do this chemistry to be able to chrome these costume parts. So thankfully, I knew somebody at a special effects shop that let me try it, and they helped me learn how to do it. So, yeah.
Hey, buddy down there, Adam. Yeah, this is the same person.
Let's not agitate the animal. It's you. You need to apologize. It's you. It's between you and him. Come here.
He needs to apologize. He has to be able to see your expressions. He can't see that far.
Son kez görüyor olabilirsiniz. Nesli tükendiği için değil. Çünkü belgesel kanallarınız yarın kapanıyor. Neyse ki ek bir ücret karşılığında kanallarınızı tekrar açtırabilirsiniz. Hatta açtıracaksınız. Açtıracaksınız.
It's not a problem right now. Just no sudden movements. They thought it was contained in the zoo area. Keep your eyes down. No sudden movements, okay? Please, do me this big favor. Don't move. Don't look him in the eye. He is a zoo animal, so most likely he's going to ignore us.
Yes, so I wanted to be an actor since I was a kid, and I was accepted finally after many years of studies to the American Academy of Dramatic Arts. And I came here from Israel, and I had a teacher named Don McLeod, who was all the gorillas back in the 80s and 90s, and everything from Trading Places, Man with Two Brains, to American Tourist to Gorilla, everything you can imagine. Me and him clicked really well, and one day he was like, my neck's hurting, you want to try on the gorilla suit? And I said yes, and I fit in perfectly, which is a bit strange because it was made like for him, custom made. And he was like, all right, well, my neck will be hurting forever now, so we're doing it from now on. And here I am doing a bunch of gorillas in films and TV, besides doing regular acting. That's how I started with that strange thing.
I believe because we're educational, Adam, when we were putting this together, because of what was in there, we took it out.
What?
The video.
Okay.
Because of that, we're going to focus more on movement. So because we are not crossing a picket line, we have to be very careful for anybody who's in the union, and that's one of our reasons. But when you come to Comic-Con next year, you'll see that wonderful piece. So I remember that was one of our discussions. And it kind of breaks my heart because you can see what Adam has to do when he gets ready. You see that? And we're going to talk a little bit about this. We're going to play a little game. Real or not real?
Real.
Yeah. Real or not real?
It is real.
Real. Real or not real?
Real.
What? Not real. You got that? Real or not real?
What, the lady? The lady is not real.
So we're going to go into, you're going to be moving in just a little bit, but before we do that, I want you to see and meet Chris Childers. Can you do that now, Chris?
I can still do that. My legs still work quite well. My back is not functioning much these days.
There's somebody that you choreographed. And
yes.
Again, we're being real careful here with who he choreographed. This was in 2002, correct?
Yeah, I had an opportunity when I was working at Cirque du Soleil. They were approached by these guys officially. It was the very first one, and they asked them, Cirque, if they would help them figure out how does this character move. And Cirque, being Cirque, said, no, we don't do that. But I happened to be in the meeting. Our publicist said, Chris is over there. He's a dancer. He loves that guy. He's been a fan of him all his life. Maybe you guys could talk about bringing him in. So sure enough, they flew me to Los Angeles from Vegas, and I started working on it, and I ended up choreographing the first, that thing. Yeah.
We're going to show a little bit of that thing, because this is without the character, and when one is choreographing. This is your choreography.
Yeah, so I was in a harness for almost a year and a half, and kind of, this was actually done, obviously, I was above the floor, and then they flipped it sideways. But they had storyboarded everything, and he just kept asking me, okay, give me those fingers, okay, keep crawling. And then they did a motion capture of me and my body, and yeah, it was awesome, and that's what came of it.
So, we're going to be getting into movement in just a second. We're going to backtrack just a little bit. And there are a couple of facts and things, Adam, that I want to talk to you about. Tell me what happens when you wear a costume, what the pounds are of that costume, and I want you to also explain what happens with your face and the remote of somebody working now, and all the good things. So let's start.
Okay, so gorilla costume is made from different types of layers. First, you have the muscle suit, which is anatomically correct muscles made from foam. If you saw the other picture from earlier, it's the underneath suit. It's designed exactly like the gorilla's muscles. And then on top of it, there's a fursuit and head, of course, which is actually an animatronic head with a bunch of little servos inside, and is operated by a remote control by another person. So we're going to choreograph the face movement with the body movement between two people, depending on the scene that we're trying.
We talk about simple movements that even with the gorilla character, even a very small movement can read so much. It's not even sometimes how big that movement is. And what we also focus on is one movement at a time.
But yeah, so isolated movement, and they actually, like mine, you know, who would move only his hand or, you know, only these type of thing like a robot. That's actually how gorillas move in real life. They just move one part of, you know.
And Adam, if you wanted to create something that's done with an opposite movement, can you show us an opposite movement? Something that has that illusion, whether it's a wall or a rope or just what happens when your body goes into it.
Okay, so let's do a famous rope of mine. So, you mean, what's the opposite move? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, a rope, wall.
Yeah, so you would move one part of, so let's say you get the rope, and then you would move one part of the body opposite of the other part, so like that. So you move the hand, and then you go back here, and then you do that.
See how it goes into it. So it's just opposite
So you
movement.
gotta figure out which muscle moves which part of your body, and then not move them together. If it makes sense.
Isolated.
It's all isolated movements.
And when we get with Chris Childers, what happens is that it's so important to warm up. It's so important to see how far one can stretch, as you talked about earlier, especially with your back. So I need you to stand up for me.
All right.
Give me your leg.
Oh, I have jeans on.
Should I move?
You're right.
I have tight jeans on. I'm not.
If you notice Chris's back, it's straight. A lot of times people think that in order to get the leg up, you would lean back.
Right.
So, like, you see what I'm saying? No. It's all about how you keep your back straight and how you're taking your movement, right, your leg, and working, whether it's in the hamstrings or things along this line. But see, his back continues to be straight. Now, if I let go, you can hold it. Yeah. And it's almost like an illusion, which is great.
Yeah.
So warming up is really important. You get that costume on, and we're going to talk a little bit about this now. And now, we always need to check for the malfunctions in a costume. If it can go wrong, it will go wrong, right, Chris?
Yeah. I mean, you check over the costume, just like you check over audio. Make sure everything's working.
When you put your costumes on today, did you actually put them on a hanger and put them out and take a look at it and wonder how that costume was going to move? Did you do that, or did you just kind of like, I'm just going to put this on?
Yeah.
All right? And the one thing that gets me when I look at a costume, I look at your shoes. Your shoes are so important. Whether you can go to the thrifty store and get, something that you can spray paint and design, don't just start from here and end here. Make it a point to make your shoes work. Because in history, we learn that people look at your feet. Okay? Whether they're worn out or not, it's really amazing, and you want it to work together. You want to be able to look at the whole thing before you even put it on. Okay?
Can I talk about this?
Absolutely. Go for it.
You're going to talk about shoes?
No.
I'm talking about something else.
I know what it is.
Okay, I just want to add something really important is when you, let's say you're at home and you're getting ready to go to a wedding and you take your suit out of the closet, you have a feeling regarding that suit and how you're going to feel inside of it. You don't think it's going to be the same as wearing a bathing suit and going to the beach. You have a feeling of how you're going to feel inside that beautiful suit for the wedding. And then these costumes are the same. When I look at this gorilla inside the box, I open it, it looks at me, and I'm like, it's like my friend. It's a different being that I actually, it's not a costume, it's an actual living thing sleeping in this bag now, and when I put it on, it comes alive, and it's not 100% me anymore. And I think you would feel the same when you look at it, right?
Yeah.
Your droids, it's like your friend. It's somehow it's connected. And I think it's really important if you wear costumes is to have a relationship with the costume. And not only I'm gonna put it on and walk around with it, but it's like you gotta be a different person now. Or
yeah, because I mean, we all see, let's see, from a galaxy far away, there are white and black soldiers that often, walk around. You don't just want to, you don't want to see just a guy walking in a costume. You want to see a character who's maybe scanning the crowd and like, let me see some identification, or something where it feels like a real character. Something that can happen in a costume is you can get a sense of claustrophobia inside a tight-fitting, helmet or a head or something, especially if there's limited vision. And in many of the characters I play, the vision is very limited, and you can see kind of. I was going to name another character. There's a character who is a superhero who is made of iron, and you can see inside the helmet, right? You can see that way in these characters as well, and if you focus on that, it can really be oppressive. So what I do is I focus on what I can see, and what I usually see through these little tiny holes are smiles, or I see aliens, or I see speeders, or something, and I focus on what's outside the costume. And that helps not only in my I don't know, comfort level inside the costume, but also in the performance too. And that's something that helps.
Adam, how many pounds is the costume that you weigh? How much is the weight of the costume that you wear?
Well, all in all is about 70 pounds.
How much? What is the cost of the costume?
What it costs?
The weight and the cost.
Yeah, it's about $60,000 to $80,000. Depends on. It's handmade. It's hand punched. Every hair is hand punched by a person who knows how to punch hair for a gorilla.
What's the longest you would wear a costume? Like when you're shooting on film, what's the longest you could wear it?
About an hour.
How hot does it get?
I think it's about 120, 130 degrees inside. Luckily, I like heat, so I don't really mind. I'm serious, I do, but it does get, you start hallucinating, and then you know that you got to take it off because things are not looking the same in real life.
Wow.
But it is dangerous to be too long in it. You also cannot breathe really well. You can't see really well. You can't hold anything. So it gets.
You see, and when Anna is performing, in that one instance, it's like take, shoot, cut, shoot, cut, shoot, cut. Not with Chris. Not with Chris Childers. Because when you're in Cirque and you're working 2 shows a day, 5 shows a week, and you have to be right on. That is a whole different frame of mind. Chris, can you talk to me about that?
The live theater thing is such a different animal, but I was the Redbird in Cirque du Soleil and Mystere, and it's funny, I was the tallest Redbird. They had always had shorter acrobats that did that role. So I came in, they're like, oh, he's this tall dancer guy, and they had this prototype tail that was made for just photographs. It was this really cool, big, giant tail. It was boning, it was like corset boning, really big, and they're like, let's put him in that, and I had a big one, that one. And it was probably my second week in this, and I went to go throw a front walkover, and the boning came up and snapped me right in the eye, and lacerated my cornea in 2 places. In which the wardrobe lady, she was devastated, and they fixed it. They put fishing line and kind of put it back. But that was one of those costume things where you're like, this did not work. It was really intense. But working 10 shows a week, you have to kind of pace yourself, stay warm. You always have to warm up and be smart. Get a lot of sleep if you can.
Did you have to keep going? The show, right?
I kind of stumbled off.
Show must go on. Show must go on.
Yeah.
The whole mentality for that is so different.
And at Cirque, the makeup is so much like nobody sort of knows who you are. I had friends in the front row, and they were like kind of looking at me, and I'm like, that was me. All the makeup, and then your headpiece is supposed to look like it's part of the makeup, and it goes into the headpiece, and then whatever you have on that. Excuse me.
Crazy. What we have here are things that Chris and Adam helped me with, and character rules to remember. The first one, I know you love this one. You're building a character, not just a costume. Explain that.
Yeah, like I mentioned before, is there's fabrication, and then there's creativity of how can you make this character come to life, and that's really my favorite part of creating, because it pushes it just over the edge into being magical. I feel like, I used to. There was a time on a show that the producer said, why don't you just come out up to your neck, you don't have to put the head on, and and then we'll introduce you to everybody in the cast and stuff. But I didn't want to come out as the guy in the suit. I wanted the cast to meet the character for the first time. So that's usually what I do, and I'll see my short counterpart across the, my short round counterpart, and you know, and I'll pretend that I'm lost. You know, is this a droid maintenance facility? My goodness, R2D2, is that you? So that the cast has a really real emotional feeling, but I was doing that at Comic-Cons too. You know, you know, if I saw other characters, I would react to them. So.
Childers, my dear buddy. Costumes don't have to be perfect when the character is present. And that's the exact explanation that happened. Crap is going to happen, but if you don't maintain the character, you know, like all of a sudden you put something on, let's say one head thing is going one way and one is another, or a shoe rips. The character, you're human, okay? You're a human and a character, you're bringing it to life. Explain.
Yeah, it's just that commitment sort of to the character that you're doing. It's just all about your inner heart committing to what you're doing. It's super important, especially when you work for, you know, like Cirque du Soleil or different, or that other thing that I did in the harness. Yeah, it was funny. The director of that project, I actually had to do the shoot, the grab, and the pull through over and over and over and over. And he just kept saying, I love it, give me more. So I'd shoot and reach, and then pull through. And I was just hanging, and I just remember going home and being like, but he was like, he loved it because I was so committed to the character of what that was. So it's super important.
Adam, push your character through the costume.
Yes, so again, you can wear a $100,000 costume and walk around. Let's say, again, go back to a gorilla, or a droid, or a robot, or whatever, alien. You can wear a $100,000 costume, and if you walk around like you would walk in from your kitchen to the bedroom, that costume is not even seen. Nobody's going to notice it. And if you have to commit to the costume that you're in. It's so important to make it real, and that's why the costume is not the most important part. It's the character inside, how you feel about it. You know, if I walk around in a gorilla costume like this, it's not going to look like a gorilla, but I can have no costume and I can do that, you know? And it's going to look more like a gorilla than if I have a costume. So the combination of the two is what sells everything. And that's why Chris doesn't want to come out as the guy in the costume in the golden.
And just so you know, Adam had to get used to different arms. So if he was doing something seated, his arms would be shorter. But then if he was going to be walking, he had to now substitute new arms.
Yeah. Oh, I had something I want to add.
Sure.
Could you go back to the one with all the characters? There was a character that was new, and I never played one like this before. It was kind of a bug-looking robot, and I needed some inspiration on how would that character move, or what would his mood be. It would be one more with the intro to me. And so I thought, there you go, in the second one from the right on the top. I went and looked at, he kind of looks like a praying mantis, so I went and watched a bunch of videos on praying mantis, which are super creepy bugs. And they move, their bodies move totally separate from their heads, which feels very robotic. So I just poured over a bunch of those videos, and then I brought that to set. And so when you see him in his episodes, that's what I'm referencing, is bugs. But you can pull inspiration from anything, and there's no one who's going to tell you, do it like this. And if they have to, then, you come with ideas, even if the ideas are wrong. I found that directors really appreciate somebody who brings ideas, even if it's like a voice. Another example was I played an alien character, and all my lines were in English. And I was like, oh, this kind of looks like maybe he might sound like an old Soviet car salesman. And I said, oh, but this speeder is brand new. I just arrived on the Spinwood freighter. And an executive producer said, oh, that's great. Why don't we cartoon it down a little? And the director said, would it speak English or would it be an alien language? I was like, actually, the species speaks an alien language. It wouldn't be English. They said, oh yeah, that's right. So it was cool to like bring ideas, even though I knew I wasn't going to be the voice actor for it, but they appreciate that anyway. Even if the idea is wrong, what you're doing is you're giving them a gift, and they can do whatever they want with it. They don't, whether they accept it and use it and celebrate it, or if they say, oh, maybe not now, maybe another time, or maybe something else. You're giving a gift with these performances, and then just leaving it out there, and that's enough.
As the mime, and as you a mime, Adam, we're going back to you, we try to accomplish one huge goal, one small step at a time. So as you look at somebody like Chris Childers, who is Mr. Rubberman, and who's able to do all kinds of things, it's really within yourself. So when we talk about a small goal, try to master that small goal. Correct, Dan?
Correct. Yeah.
Well, we answered that. Childers, patience. Explain to me what patience is about.
Patience.
As a dancer.
Oh gosh, well, yeah. Yeah, you have to be super patient with yourself, mostly. Give yourself time to figure things out. You know, that term fake it till you make it is a real thing. Like, I remember there were times on set for that other thing where they were just looking at me waiting for something. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna just make a choice. And they were like, yeah, that's it, that's it. I'm like, really? Great, awesome, I knew that too. So, yeah, there's just there's the respect, self-respect, and patience, because sometimes you gotta figure it out. And sometimes you have to figure it out while you're in front of a bunch of other people, which isn't comfortable, but it's crucial. And it's important. Sorry, go, that's it? No.
Chris, next to me.
Also,
go ahead.
Patience with developing a character that you want to achieve, a move that you want to achieve, a feel. You know, like as a dancer, I'm sure certain steps are impossible for days, and then suddenly it happens. There's a mind to do, you know, stop in the right point so it looks like a wall. It takes days or weeks, and you got to be patient. Otherwise, yeah, it's.
And believing. You just got to believe in what you're doing. If you don't believe you're touching a wall, this is exactly what it looks like. But if you believe in it and your focus is there, it's amazing when you focus. Chris, I love when you talk about this one. Audition is doing the work.
Auditioning is doing the work. And that, what we mean by that is, sometimes actors will get heartbroken. They want this role so badly, and they'll go do this audition, and they'll put everything they can into this audition, and then hope that they get it, and then they don't get it, and then they're sad for a month. And really, the way that we can look at it is, I'm going to act. I'm going to this audition, I'm going to put on this mini show for this director, and that's it. And then I acted today, as opposed to, you know, trying to get a job. Bryan Cranston talks about this, that you're going to act today, and you put everything you can into that. And maybe it's not an audition, maybe it's you're going to a Comic-Con, and today you're going to act. And it doesn't matter if anyone likes it. It doesn't matter if someone thinks you're a dork. It doesn't matter if, you know, you're not really doing it for them to give you a reaction. You're doing it because it feels good to create an actor and give this gift to everybody.
So one of my favorite things that we liked doing when we were at WonderCon was getting you off your feet, and I'd like you to stand up for me right now. And Chris, what I want you to do is to lead us through a pose, and then we count 4 seconds, and then change the pose. And I want you to think that all these cameras that you see are on you. And then when we say the word, like if I say the word 1, that means you have to hold that pose. I'm going to count to 3, 2, 3. And by the time we get to 1, I want you to change your pose. And then as you watch Adam, he's going to be showing you how the movement comes from the chest. As you watch what Chris is going to do, you're going to see 3 different ways of how they do poses, and then I want you to participate in it. You might look at something and say, well, I want to try this. But again, it's not just about, okay, here's my phone, selfie. I really want you to get a good feel of what you're doing. Ready? Here we go. 1, 2, 3. 1. That means you change. 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Did all of you feel like maybe you moved a little bit different because you were opening it up? Okay, Chris, lead the next one.
Which Chris?
Well, if you want to be a robot, and that's a specific robot in a galaxy far away, not the robot. You know, not the dance. Everything is separate. The arms are separate from the torso, and everything has a termination. So you don't move like this. You know, if you're going to inspect something, it's, oh, I see. My goodness. What was that? That sort of thing. So everything is separate. Yeah.
Get off your feet. Come on, on your feet. Let's go. Let's try it.
Yeah. So you can, yes, you stand very upright like this, right? Yes.
Nice and upright.
Elbows are out here, your hands out in front, ready to work, right? And you can just move your hands.
Are you going?
Yes. Right. And now, trying to get someone's attention. Now you're looking around for help. Not moving anything else. Right. So.
Oh, that's wonderful right there.
There you go. Yes. Oh, peacemaker. All right. Great job.
Whoa, what are you guys doing? Get up. Shoulders. Go for it.
We'll just talk about, especially at the convention, there's always eyes on you, right? So one of the most important things is 3-dimensional energy, right? So people learn when you're on stage, like, okay, you've seen my back, but like I'm still telling the story even though like there's nothing here, right? So you have to, instead of just like turning your back, right? You're always constantly showing that energy on your backside in a 3-dimensional way, whichever you're moving, right? You're stepping, you're looking, everything's like 3-dimensional. You never want to kind of break that guard. You want to keep that chest energy coming the whole time. Does that make sense?
Give me your chest.
Give me your chest. Yeah.
That'd be a drink.
You guys try it? Count it out, Chris,
Yeah.
and let's see some movements where you feel like you're so heroic.
So yeah,
And
just
it's not like this, it's the fact that you really bring it out and your arms are back. You've got that
That's
feeling,
it, right?
that opposite movement.
and then take a little turn and find another position and just keep that energy, right? Because even though people look at your back, you don't want to.
Oh my God, there's
right?
great communication between the guy in the blue shirt and the woman in the black. That was wonderful.
Well, you're welcome.
That was great.
Yeah. 3-dimensional energy. Think everyone at Comic-Con is, if you're in costume, they're all checking you out.
Excellent. Excellent. Right there. Excellent.
Yeah, good job.
Yeah. Excellent.
Nice.
Excellent.
And good chill.
Yeah.
Good chill.
You're getting comfortable
Good
with the
chill.
movement. Adam,
Yes.
get some. We're here to give you a gift. Here comes the gift.
Let's do a little bit of gorillas.
Yeah.
So, imagine, I'm going to stand here just my legs. So a gorilla would have very short legs. It will be bent outwards. Feet would be inwards. And he has a very long torso. Right? Very straight, on a very straight back.
Yeah. Wow.
And then, I'll stand here.
Oh, geez.
And they have,
Where's this Kaiser?
yeah, they're always a bit sideways. And then they have one, you know, one hand hanging lower, and then they switch, and they go over there, and then they go, you know,
Oh.
Sorry, it's weird, I know. But, the important part part is to imagine that you have very short legs and a very large torso and very long arms. And then you have, of course, the face that is always interested in something.
Show me interest, like you're this ape and you're like
they look around, and then they stop halfway, go over there, and then they start, of course, running.
What I really like is natural. I love that natural bounce. Like, for instance, when I'm not here to teach it, but when we were doing robots, okay, and you're this stiff person, but there's something really cool about that natural thing that Adam did. The feeling that you feel the natural movement because you're taking yourself, becoming this character, and you're bringing that character to life. And that is what's really amazing. So these are just little gifts we wanted to give you, things you want to practice. Do we have time for Q&A? Are we okay with a couple? We have 5 minutes. Do you have a question for any of my wonderful CAC?
Well, I want to be under the camera.
Any questions? Yes.
What is the emergency procedure in case you guys get overheated with the students or get stuck in there? How do you get first aid or something?
It's very good to have a wrangler with you. So a friend who is maybe in a less complicated costume or a person who isn't wearing a costume. So they're always watching you. So they're not distracted doing something else. It's a good friend to have.
Excuse me, what does he have paramedic on movie sets in case anything goes wrong?
Oh yes, I meant like at a Comic-Con, but yeah. Yeah, I did.
But you also sorry. No. But you also, it's for me because of my face. Nobody can see my face or anything, and it's weird movements to begin with. There's a specific sign that we decide on.
Okay.
That if I do that, I'm dying. So then you should come and help me.
Jeff?
So, Adam, you mentioned that you act for like an hour, and it's a 70-pound suit. So, two-part question: how long does it take you to get into that suit?
The initial one is a long time because you put makeup on and you got to fix everything and make sure everything works. So that's about 40 minutes.
Oh, okay. So Christopher talked about warming up. Okay, to get into that for 40 minutes, if you warm up beforehand, I just don't see how you prevent injury.
It's 150 degrees inside. You get in, you're hot. You don't need to warm up. No, really, I'm serious. It just warms you up so much that you lose all your muscles.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. God bless you guys. Thank you.
Yeah, right.
Cool.
Lawrence, did you have one?
Yes, I was curious as somebody who listens to mocap, is there certain things that you can think about that would translate from working inside a costume to also work on things on mocap stage?
Who can expand on that?
Yes.
Go ahead. Oh, okay. Well, yeah, you're doing the same movements except for in a costume. Sometimes costume weighs more, and you want your performance to read correctly. So a lot of times I'll have someone do a video, film me doing a set of animation so that I can see how much reads. Because when you feel the weight of the costume, sometimes you're not doing as much as what needs to read, right? So I'm just doing what Chris is comfortable doing, and then we watch the video and like, oh, the character isn't moving as energetically as it should. So I have to push my movement to be more than I would naturally want to do. But if you're doing performance capture, you wouldn't have the weight of the costume on you, so you might have to compensate for that. If you're a big, space marine or something, you might want to. Yeah, we have Molly Miller here.
Molly, stand up, please.
I worked with Molly in the galaxy far away, and she has done performance capture right on a stage like that. So anyway, it's fun to have you here.
Thanks,
I do think that costumes do help, though. The movement lots of times. So for a robot, because the costume is already hard and restricted, it helps the movement to be restricted. Am I right?
That is the most common question I get. Does the costume make you move like that?
No, I know. I know it doesn't make you move, but it helps. For me, so for example, for me, the gorilla costume is heavy. The arms are heavy, and gorillas do walk in a heavy walk. I do use that weight, the extra weight that I don't have, to make it a heavier walk, more cumbersome type of walk. And, but if I don't have it on, it's harder to do because I gotta add it.
Yeah,
So
when I'm
when
I'm in a droid costume and I'm tired, like it's the end of the day and it's the last shoot, last take, you can tell that it's Chris in the costume. But when it's, when we're like, okay, we really need to get this, I have a kind of a jolt of energy, and I have to move. I make the costume move to look like it's a droid. Otherwise, it looks just like a guy in it.
That is amazing. Of all the things to learn from this, exactly that. Is it Chris in a costume, or is it a character? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm looking at my dear over here in the green outfit, and
that would be Loki.
Loki.
Yeah.
And as I look at Loki, I'm realizing, like, as you're sitting right now, are you actually Loki right now, or are you with the costume on?
Yeah.
Right. So the bottom line is that you always have to remember when that costume is on, you might have a little person just thinking, oh my gosh, there's Loki and I want to see Loki, and then, listen kid, I'm taking a break. You always have to remember that when you're wearing that. And the other thing to remember, when does that costume start? Like if we had a stage, does it happen when you come right out on stage, or does it happen in the dressing room? Chris, you're the master of this one because of what you did at Surf.
Yeah, you have to have your story coming, no matter where you're coming from, full out. Like even, I worked on Broadway too for Jerome Robbins. I don't know if you guys know who he was. Yeah. But they were very, you had to come in with the story. And if you weren't in that story and in that truth, they would send you back. In rehearsal, I'm speaking about. But yeah, that's
And the other thing is, let's say that there was a little 5-year-old or 6-year-old or 8-year-old, and they were looking at you in here, and you're taking that break. Do they understand that? Do you see what I mean? And that's the beauty about Comic-Con, because nobody told you what to wear. You chose to bring that to us. And somebody like me who's not in a costume, I come here to see you. I come here to get into your character. So how much bigger will your movements be that make me believe that, wow, it's not the fact that I got into the building, but I got my money's worth because I saw some incredible people move. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Yeah, like if we're gonna take, can you guys stand up? If we're gonna take a picture, if someone says, oh wow, you guys look great, can I take a picture with you? Now we're just gonna take a picture with Chris and Adam. now it's a droid, Redbird, and the gorilla, People want to take a photo like that.
Did you get it?
That's a good job.
Did you have fun?
Yeah.
And for those of you who are dressing up tomorrow, do me a favor, take 10 minutes longer, look at what you're putting on, make sure that things are clean, and really don't let the costume constrict you. You want to be able to really make that all that it is, okay? And I really look forward to seeing you tomorrow and Saturday and Sunday, and I'll let you take it away.
Can I say, you right here? Yes, yeah. Before we started, we were talking about you because you were such a character. Like, there was this like energy that was like darkness.
It's been a long day and I've been up since 5 a.m.
How would you say that to the 10-year-old who's looking at you going, like, just the fact, look at how you're playing with the hair. that much slower. I want you to take it and really take it just as slow as you can when you play. And put your head down just a little bit. Now see, that becomes
very tight.
Like when you,
so slow.
yeah, when you came in, it was so great.
Yeah.
Like the energy was so like, wow, it's
Thank you.
yeah, well done.
We've been given the high sign, so let's thank our wonderful person who helped us.
Thank you guys. Thank you very much.